Recording.
Hello.
Tell me when.
Hi, Kaye.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, here he is.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's Kaye and James. And we're here with Laugh Out Loud podcast. I'm hoping that next week when we do the podcast, I'll have my Focusrite hooked in and you'll hear my voice like that's right, radio. I always wanted to do
God,
that.
they didn't see your stomach.
Oh,
I mean, they...
talking about that. You missed that. You missed Kate got a shot of my stomach. That's right. My dad bod.
I'm still trying to recuperate.
She said, I'm not that fat.
It's like, oh, cool, hello.
I can show you all, but seriously.
No, don't scare the listeners.
This is yeah, fuck it.
It's a family show.
It's a family show, but you're allowed to swear. I remember my dad. My dad never swore, and he hit his finger one day, like hit his thumb with a hammer, and he said bugger. That was it. That's the worst word. As he saw it, if you had to swear, then you've lost what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah, my dad was the same. Didn't swear. And
yeah. Oh, he's so old school with that.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was, I'll send you a link to a radio thing that I did. It was just a fun thing, just to test out all my different mics and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I wrote this little sketch where it's me being like, it's literally you're turning a radio and you're getting different things.
Oh yes, cool.
And one of the ones was, did you ever hear
turning a radio? How old are you?
turning the radio. Look like fucking Trump.
Get that little link going across.
Yeah, see? Yeah. You kids, you missed out.
Oh.
You've missed out. They missed out.
Like, we were the remote controls for our parents.
Yeah. Do you remember LPs like they'd cost you like $5? You know, like you'd go in and you'd go through some of the stuff and you'd be like, hey, you know?
I bought the Partridge Family for $4.99.
Classic poker song.
Like when I first came out, got my first record player.
Hang on. I'm trying to remember the song.
Oh my God, it's so old.
Oh, it's been so long. Came out my door. See, I seriously have forgotten it.
Oh, Alzheimer's set in for James. It'll come to
I think I love you, but what am I?
I think I love you.
Of?
Yeah.
Afraid
that I'm not sure of.
So one of the radio.
I love you.
That's it. Yeah. Just in case you didn't hear me.
Oh.
So one of the things.
I got a who was it? Dr. Hook. Eagle. Eagle Rock by Dr.
Daddy
Hook.
Cool.
Oh, Daddy Cool.
No, Daddy Cool too.
And it was a
Daddy
single,
Cool Rock.
Brilliant. The album cover. It actually opened up into four ways. Just
wow, that would be worth a fortune now, Kay.
Yeah, still got it. So
you should, mate. Seriously, that would be worth a fortune. Doing karaoke, I know Daddy Cool very, very well. Okay. You know, that would be nearly every week that, and there was always someone who dropped their DAX. So, as long as they kept their underwear on,
after to the small, just for my performance a minute ago.
As long as you kept your underwear, I used to say it all the time. I'd go, okay, look, as long as you kept your underwear on, I'll sing this song. All right.
An oldie, isn't it?
Yeah, it works though. As soon as there are certain songs like when I'd start loving, you know, people are up. When you go, that's it. Bang, people are up. And of course, everyone's favourite. Am I ever gonna see your face again?
I hate that song. No offense.
Oh, do you know?
Just for that purpose, everybody comes up and sings it.
I must have been in some weird ass Sydney, Newcastle bubble when I was in a band.
Yeah.
I did not know until I moved to Orange, which was 11 years ago. I did not know that the song Alice.
Living Next Door to Alice.
Alice. Yeah, Alice. Who the fuck is Alice? I did not know that came at the end of that song until I'm at a pub. This is like, about the second, third month I'm here in Orange, and all of a sudden the song comes on, and the whole freaking pub starts singing, living next door to Alice. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? And I'm like, what the is going? Is this a joke on me?
I haven't heard that.
No, but it wasn't until I came to the country that I found that out.
Oh my God.
So it was banned, and you couldn't do, I never allowed, simply because of the fact that Kelly's Irish Pub was still is, a family pub.
Yeah. That
means there are kids that would be there till about 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
It's a Friday night, come on, man. I used to have a ban on, am I ever going to see your face again, until 11:30. After 11:30, then you're more than happy to do it.
Yeah, it's open to other then. Yeah.
But I had to put that rule in, simply because it's really funny. You've got such expensive gear, and you put a lot of time and energy and put a lot of money into it, because you've got to buy all your files and everything, and it's extremely expensive. And you would put on the rule, there was no alcohol, actually there was no fluids whatsoever up on the alcohol. You would just say no drink on the stage. And the amount of people, fuck off, man, I want to have a beer while I sing. It's amazing how behaviour it happens. Yeah. The funny thing is, I've become incredibly jaded because of it. I'm not as friendly as I used to be. And I think that's simply because of the fact that I dealt with so many people who've been drunk. And look, there's going to be people who are watching this. And I want them to understand that when you drink, just because you're thinking you're funny and you're happy, doesn't mean everybody else is.
No, that's right, exactly.
Okay?
They tend to overstep that mark just that little bit.
Don't behave like a dickhead. We don't need dickheads.
No.
If you want to get drunk, have fun, but stop interfering with other people's lives when you do that.
That's right.
And that's why I will never do karaoke ever again. I don't mind doing family and friends weddings for them.
Yeah.
But I will never do it as a gig again.
Not in the pub.
I'm past jaded with it now.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't give a good performance now, okay? I know I would walk in with an attitude. I would have an attitude before I moved. Before I even walked in the door, I'd have an attitude.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't want to drive all the way to Mudgee to do that kind of thing, you know? I'm just too set in my ways now.
Yeah. Is there much around Canberra?
Oh, look, a lot of the stuff's been dropped and everything like that. You won't hear about anything until after it, and I can't see that happening until at least 2022 at this stage. It's going to take a lot longer. It's going to be another hard year next year.
What, to the pubs to open?
Yeah, I think yes, pubs and everything will open, but people having the money to be able to do the things is what I'm talking about. That's what it's going to be down to more than anything else, is people having money to be able to do, the possibility of being able to do those things.
They should be all saving at the moment because they're not doing anything, especially down here. Yeah. I mean, we're not going anywhere. So...
People are still spending. Well, people are still spending. They're doing a lot of online stuff. So.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the online stuff.
What I was going to say is one of the radio ones that I do, I don't know if you know this, Kay, because I'm not sure if you guys heard it or not, but it's love song dedications.
Right.
No. So it was on a Saturday night in Sydney, and he'd be like this the whole time. He'd be like, "Okay, we've got Janice on the phone. Janice, what's your song?" Yeah, well, I'd like to send this out to my top man, Jacko. I love Jacko. Jacko is the best. You know, Jacko is just like a spunk. I love him. He's a spunk rat.
Oh,
And it's just, yeah, I'd like to send you, you know, a song that, you know, just means a lot to me. You know, I just called to say I love you. It's just the best song ever. And so can I just send it to Jacko? Okay, so Jacko, this is a song for you. It's from your number one girl, Janice. And it's, I just called to say I love you. And this is what he was like the whole time. The funny thing is that I remember in the 90s driving around and listening to it because it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so good, the people who would ring up.
Yeah.
You know.
Honest people.
Yeah, I lost my Kylie. You know, she just she dumped me just because I had slept with her mum and her sister and her dog. You know, just because I'd done all those things, you know, she dumped me, and I'm heartbroken. I don't know what to do with myself, so I'd like to dedicate a song to her if I could. And this would go on every single. But my favourite part was he'd feed his own humour. You could hear him feeding his own humour. So, Mick, why did Kylie leave you? I mean, it seems a bit strange, you know, just sleeping with a mum. Yeah, but I also slept with a sister. Oh, okay. Well, that's not really good now, is it, mate? And he'd keep this lovely monotone voice, this lovely FM, you know, that deepness in your voice. And he would keep it in that beautiful, you know, monotone
voice.
Yeah.
That was like Casey Kasem. He had the same level, and Wolfman Jack was the same.
Yeah, but I had worked with my brother on a lot of stuff. He was a radio producer, but you always knew when a DJ walked in. You always knew because we'd be like, "Hey, James, how you going? Good to see you. Hey, is this your brother? Good. How you going, James? Good to meet you. So, what's going on with you guys in your lives?" They always had to keep that voice going all the time because it was the way they did stuff.
Yeah,
and
Danny.
I've noticed listening to radio just recently that they've changed all of that. That they're now starting to be different types of voices. Hey, there's the man.
How are we?
How are we, mate? How are you doing, buddy?
I got these other.
He's checking something.
Oh, check it out. He's got new Bluetooth ones.
Yeah, I don't know whether these will work on here. They should.
They should, mate. Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
Okay, if you just go to the computer's Bluetooth, they'll pick them up.
Connect. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. Connect to audio. You should be fine then.
Now we've lost.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late. Just see, I've caught up and doing a few things. And
you've been playing golf again, haven't you? We know.
No, I haven't really. I was walking the dog when it happened.
Oh.
I rushed back. I had to come up these couple of hills.
Oh.
So I had to rush back and but I got caught up in the phone call, so yeah.
Excellent. Kay's got a
Oh no! Don't tell him. I'm not.
What's that?
Hey, I have written the script.
Oh, great.
Kay's got a character, and I reckon, Danny, that she does it for us today.
No, I can't. I don't remember the thing. No. You want? I'm calling her Badge Madge. CWA lady with lots of badges.
Right.
That's his.
That's great.
Right.
Wait a minute. His.
It's awesome. It's great. Badge Madge is unreal.
I've got to rewrite it. I don't like it. I like it, but
you want to read it? Well, why don't you read us out some of it?
Hello. Sorry, I'm late. There you go.
Come on.
And that was
now you're in darkness.
Yeah, and I got to turn this light on.
I've lost him there, but I'm walking in and
No,
saying,
no. He's got his light.
Here he is
There we
walking
go.
in. Who the hell are you? I don't know you. You don't look like a CWA lady. Pretty ugly.
I've got to go probably on the other side.
It was
All right, come on.
the theme of it, okay,
Yeah.
is that I'm supposed to be there to talk about making scones and scone creations, okay?
Righto.
And that I've had a letter from a woman in Scotland called Bonnie who's made haggis scones.
Right.
Good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and then it just waffles on a bit. Then it goes on about Flo making pumpkin scones and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, it's still not.
Okay.
I'm not 100% with it. So I want to cut it down. So, but it's getting there. But at the moment, I tell you, my brain has totally. Even though I'm still doing the jokes on Twitter.
Yeah.
The brain is just not functioning. This lockdown is it's a nightmare to us. Another 2 weeks for us. Can't go to the
that may be shortened because your numbers are dropping. So if the numbers keep dropping, then
he's not shortening it. He's going to keep us until end of the. I can take the dog to the groomers on the 29th of November, but up until November, not November. Sorry, September.
October.
29th of September. Yeah. The dog can go to the groomers.
Yeah.
Hairdressers at the end of October. And retail is still not going back until about 22nd, 23rd of November.
So Tuesday week you can take the
dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all dogs are getting it. Mine looks like a woolly mammoth now. He just needs to be groomed. He's only a toy caboodle, but he looks like this.
You can really tell the people who actually are in lockdown because of their haircuts. And where their hair is.
I'm starting to get the mullet. I go, oh God.
Yeah, I got a mate the other day, and he's just going. I'm going and saying, I need a haircut, blah blah blah. And I said, can you order stuff online and bring it to yourself if you want? He goes, yeah. So we'll get yourself some clippers. Cut your hair. Do something completely different. So he shaves his whole head. So he cuts it right down, then he shaved it.
Yeah.
And he rings me up, and he goes, what do you think? And I went, fantastic. How do you feel? And he goes, really liberated. I went, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Just come up with something different.
Wow.
So,
it's
hairdressers,
you can imagine the backlog for the hairdressers.
Yeah. Is it hot where you are, Danny?
No, I just had to hurry to come back up the hill to come up there. So I was hurrying to get back here. Oh, so you're sweating it. Yeah.
Sweating it out.
Bringing the dog and but yeah, I had to get off the phone and come through the back paddock. I've got about 4 acres here or something.
Oh, nice.
And we go through the back of that and up the pipeline and over the hills and down the dales and that sort of stuff. And just get back
awesome. Excellent. So Kaye, with your character, what is she trying to do?
Oh, she's come to discuss about creations of scones.
Okay.
Which is what happens with CWA. You have women come in and they talk about how to do this or that and this.
Yeah. So have you put in that, what's the word I'm looking for? Danny, you're going to do this better than I will.
Well, I was going to, I'm going to talk to, say things to Danny, does he know Ruby Dean, the one of the first meter maids that was ever there? She was a bit of a hottie and she knew how to hide the coins really well. And you were going to get one, hang on, because I had you as Canberra Orange. About an old lady called Betty. What was her name? Betty Armstrong, who's a gossip and stuff. An old bag. But I'm not happy with that bit.
That's pretty much the CWA in Orange.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So, but yeah, and then I'm going to get that about. And then I was just going to say, I better get up. I'm on the wrong, because it starts off that I'm on the wrong Zoom.
Right. Okay.
Right. So then I've got Mavis in the background yelling out, trying to get her to help me, and she's got her head stuck in the doggy door. So I don't know why, but she's got her head stuck in the doggy door. But yeah.
So if you feel a little bit more confident, how about try to do it on Friday's podcast?
No.
Why not, Kaye?
Terrified. I really don't know that I want to do characters. I want to do jokes. with Kaye.
You got to do them like you got to do them like their second nature.
That's
and
exactly right.
Find a hat, scarf, brooch, glasses, without glasses, with glasses.
Yeah.
Outrageous glasses, perhaps. Something like that. You got to find something to hang the character on.
Yeah. Well, see, I can't get out to get any of that, so we're stuck
no. Well, that's the whole thing. You got to, and before that, you got to improvise.
Can't get to the op shops to do all that sort of stuff,
The other thing is too, Kate. Do you want to do it on Friday but not record it? So not put it out to the world. Just do it to us.
I don't know. Boy, you're pushy.
No,
I love you, but you're pushy.
No, I'm not. I just don't know that I want to do jokes that way. I really don't. My stand-up comedy. All right. But at the same time, how do you not? Yeah, but how do you know that if you don't try?
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah.
So you don't know. You don't know if that's going to work or not. You don't know how it's going to be. Yeah. Danny can absolutely tell you that he's probably hit as much as he's missed. That's the way. It's the way performances are.
Oh yeah, I know that.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
As I said to you, it's all about. Go on, Danny.
Well, I was just saying. I think you should build your confidence before you do that, and then you want to do it in front of a mirror, like a full-length mirror if you can.
Yeah.
And sort of observe the way you move and how you gesture or whatever you want to do, how you want to play the character, and observe that if you could pick up on a few ticks that the character has. It might be adjusting glasses to emphasize a word. It might be a hand gesture. It might be just a movement, a hand on a hip. Yeah. Everything to emphasize what you're talking about, but to emphasize the character. So if you can lock in on the character, and the most important thing is to establish the character from the start. You've got to, you would ease into it, but it's like you're establishing the character. So when Dame Edna was first done, she
was overcoat and a stupid hat.
Well, she was a housewife, and it was very static.
Yeah.
And it was just, eyes rolling and stuff. It didn't move much, and it had a hat, and it was a typical, I would think, Mooney Pond's housewife, I suppose, and that's what he was aiming for.
Yeah, exactly.
And her name was Everidge, so it was supposed to be average. So the outlandish stuff came way later.
Yeah.
Way later. So that's the thing that you have to keep in mind, is to say, this character could start as this and end up something else.
I think once he graduated it up to Dame, Dame Edna Everidge, isn't she? Yeah, Dame. Yeah. So once he made it Dame, that's when she became glamorous.
That didn't happen until 70s. And this character started in the 50s.
Yeah,
so it was like a long time.
And that's what it is, Kate. It's about literally finding, like you'll miss on so many times, but you've then got to learn from that once. You've got to say to yourself, okay, well that didn't work, so let's try something else, or let's go with this, or let me try this one and see how this goes.
Yeah.
Eventually, you find the character or the thing that you're looking for is there. And though this may not be where you want to go with your comedy, it's at least somewhere to start with.
Yeah.
And somewhere to learn from.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
You got to start, because there's a good point that I'm just trying to think who the guy who made the point. His name was, but he said basically, I don't know, it was Anthony Robbins or something like that. But he was saying if you want to do something, a year will go by, and if you're still standing in that same place the year from now and you haven't done anything, the year's still going to go by. So what he was trying to say was start now, to say, even if you fail, it's like losing weight or, doing something that you say, oh, gee, I can't do that. You start and you go, yep, I'll do it. And it's all in those steps. And I honestly believe that when I can vaguely remember doing stuff, and especially my impressions and things, I actually mimicked some other people, mimicking the way they did the impression. And then I met an impressionist who told me, who said, a lot of these impressions are other impressionists. A lot of these impressionists are impressionists mimicking an impressionist they think is the definitive impression of that character. A good case in point was a fellow called Will Jordan, who pioneered a lot of the impressions. He was the first guy to do Ed Sullivan and do it on the Ed Sullivan Show. And it went from pretty much a straight impression of Ed Sullivan to where he then exaggerated everything, started to exaggerate. And all the impressionists watched him, and they did him doing Ed Sullivan. And they became derivative, right? So the original person who does it is the one that sets it up. And then if you know, I would see it, but I would mimic those people first to get the feel of what this character is supposed to be. And then I would find what I wanted to do. And when I was looking at Will Jordan doing Ed Sullivan, I was looking at Rich Little doing Ed Sullivan, Frank Gorshin, there's a bunch of other, David Fry was another one. When I was watching these guys are doing it, I eventually developed, that's who the character is, because I went back and watched Ed Sullivan himself. And I thought, that's not him, you know, it's not, they're just picking up on this, that. And then eventually, when Will Jordan became fairly popular and come back on the show a few times, Ed Sullivan started doing him. And eventually in the 80s, Billy Joel did a song, Tell Her About It, right? And he made the film clip in the old Ed Sullivan Theatre, and Ed Sullivan was introducing him like as if they were the band of the moment. And here's their latest hit, and was Will Jordan doing Ed Sullivan, and they made it look like it was the theatre. And,
I remember that.
Will Jordan's out the front saying, "Well, right here on our show tonight, we're going to have a very, very, very talented man. He's coming along to do his new hit. His new hit, is it? It's a new hit. It's a new hit. I don't listen to the radio. Well, here he is right now, Mr. Billy Joel." And then and he'd do all these things with his eyes, and the camera then went away to Billy Joel as if he was in the 50s or the 60s. And he would tell her about it, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So because that was the feel of the song that he was going for, that 60s feel. And but when I saw it, that was very clever how they did the clip and how he got Will Jordan. And then I saw interviews with Billy Joel later on, and he more or less sort of said the same thing. He said, I love impressionists. And he said, when I used to watch Will Jordan when I was a kid, and then I saw other people live, and he said, it's amazing how they do it. And then he said, I got to meet them. And he said, when he met Will Jordan, and Will Jordan would explain different things about how to do that. So if you're looking for doing a character, perhaps this, I don't know whether it suit you or not, but if you look towards some of the people who have done that, have established a character, and you know it's the person doing the, you know, who's gone along and grabbed a character. Like there was a country music star comedian called Minnie Pearl.
Where I
and
get
Minnie
most
Pearl,
of my jokes from.
Hey?
That's where I get most of my jokes from.
Oh, Minnie?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
she established this character. She would then come on as like, when she first started, she was like a singer.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be a hillbilly singer, right?
Sorry guys, quickly, I got to disappear. I'm getting buzzed like 3 times now from my boss.
Okay, we'll talk.
I will talk to you soon.
Okay.
No worries. All right, James.
Guys.
See you, mate.
See ya.
Yeah.
So when Minnie came, she developed a character that someone said, you can almost become a caricature. And she got that one night she discovered when she said, howdy. And then she was in this theater or hall, and the echo went on and everybody laughed. And it was howdy. And this thing went on and on. So she went, she hung on to that.
Yeah.
That was going to be her she would come on and hold it herself, no matter where she went after that. She'd walk on, howdy, you know, and that was the way you got everybody's attention. They're all looking at you. And then she would wear the hat with the price tag still on it. Stuff like that.
She's very clever.
Had a dress
very smart woman.
With a price tag on it. Yeah, because she picked up on these things and going, I saw someone walk out, they still got the freaking price tag on their head. And so I remember Spike Milligan doing sketches where every prop had a piece of string with a tag on it. For some reason, it had some tag or the name of what the prop was. And he would put a helmet on and have this tag on, and he would have this other thing. And there was, he would take a wooden mallet and smash the cup, and he just, for no reason. Mate of mine went to see him in Leeds many years ago in the 70s, and he came out on stage, and he'd have a table there, and everybody would be looking at it, and he would look at the table and he would look at the audience and do this thing backwards and forwards with them, and he said, "You're wondering what's underneath that?" He said, "Nothing." And he said, "But we don't want people to know that." So he would do all this sort of straight back. And then eventually he'd take the cloth off the table, pick up a mallet. After a joke, he'd finish, and he'd look around. He'd walk back to the table, pick up the mallet, smash the cup, and then cover it up again and walk back and start to tell another joke. And everybody went, "What the hell was that?" But that was Spike Milligan. So he was his character, this idiot sort of nonsensical stuff. Yeah. And he would do poems and all sorts of stuff. And but they all wanted to hear the characters that he created, the voice characters, Eccles and other ones, Minnie Crun and all those. Yeah. There's an ad on 2GB for the Blind Factory, and it is the voice of the Goons. It's the Goons. Someone's mimicking the Goons.
All right, yeah.
Which means it's still relevant. Yeah. So a lot of that stuff that audiences under, say, 50 wouldn't remember, the stuff that we would remember. Yeah, you can go back and borrow. All comedy is borrowing. All comedy.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can say this. You can say this guy's an original, but they had to be borrowing long before they found their original voice. Yeah. And I can go through them all. Richard Pryor, he stood up at strip clubs and told jokes, jokes. And then one day he got the shits and he decided to go off on a rant, and they all laughed. And he was talking about stuff that was happening in his life, and they all laughed, and it's because he had a bad day. And he went, oh. So he started to put more and more in that of his act, and then he went out. He left the strip clubs, went into comedy clubs. I had a lot of his old albums. I've still got them out the back. And you can listen to very raw stuff, but there's one or two routines in those albums where you go, there's this spark, there's this guy in there. He understands this character and what have you. And he would do a wino directing traffic on a Sunday morning. You know, people coming out of church, people going to restaurants to eat and what have you. And the wino's down there on the corner and he's directing traffic, you know, and he's drunk but he's just ranting at the world. And he's telling people off what they're supposed to do. And then the policeman comes along to move him along, and he goes, I ain't doing nothing. I was down here doing nothing. Was I doing nothing? Talking, Charlie, was I doing nothing? Charlie said I wasn't doing nothing. Why don't you believe Charlie? And he would do this thing, and you were there when you could see everything he was talking about. And Jojo, bloody dog. So, yeah, I'm sure. I can tell you how I do some things sometimes. I'll be in my room or we're just walking around. I'm talking to myself in a character, doing jokes. I might see something on Twitter and I've got a comment to make about it, but I won't write it down. And I'll say it, and I'll get up and I'll act it out. And it just helps me. Then I want to turn it around and make it funny. So I find something in it that turns it around and makes it funny. So I'm always searching for, instead of the harshness of something, turn it around and make it funny, because it's absurd. You know, there's a lot of things in the world that are absurd.
Exactly. Yeah.
When Monty Python did their stuff, when the Goon Show did their stuff, it was all the absurd. They took it to an absurd degree. So it's kind of, you do all this experimentation, and then something falls into your head, and you get relaxed with it, you get confident. Something falls in your head, and you go, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, and something sticks. So I was talking to a friend today we've known one another over 40 years. As a matter of fact, we went to school together, so it's longer than that. And we were talking about some old times that we knew, and the way I described them back to him was, he was just in fits of laughter, and I said, I was sort of going, what's so funny? So he said, just the way you described it. He said, I was there and I saw that, and I went, yeah, but I wouldn't have described it the way you did. And I went, yeah, right. And I've played.
You can pick the funny parts of it out of any situation.
Well, I played golf, and you say the same things over and over, and when you do a bad shot and stuff like that. So I was aware that I said different things. One time I was in America, and we're between the holes waiting for the next shot, and this guy said to me, he said, why don't you do that on stage? And I said, what's that? He said, what you did just walking up the last hole was some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard. And I said, really? And he's going, yeah. I was talking about crocodiles and all sorts of things coming up and swallowing the ball and doing all sorts of things. And when I was digging myself out of the bunker, doing this and that.
Yeah.
And then I'd finish off and, piss off and I was saying, piss off on the horse you rode in on and all this sort of stuff. And that's right, you can go and get and the horse you rode in on, and all this sort of stuff. And this guy was saying, because at the time Steve Irwin was big in America, and they were fascinated with how Australians talked.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand a word we said, but it's the way we describe things, And so I would go through some songs and things and go and stop on each line and explain what a billabong was, what a jumbuck and all that.
Yeah.
And they'd all look at you and go, I know you're not getting any of this. But what happens was the melody of the song got them, so they'd sing along the song. But what you were doing was dragging the audience into the story that you were telling.
Yeah.
And when you left, I know that there were people later who would turn around and said, "Oh, I saw you last year. You did this song. We're doing that song tonight. I remember doing that song, something about a sheep. Was it a sheep? But you called it something else." And so these people went, yeah, I remember it. It sort of stuck in their head.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like trying to find the absurdity but when you're on your own, practice on your own. As I say, in front of a mirror, try and find it. Yeah, try and find it.
I bought a microphone because they said to buy a microphone so you could get used to handling one.
Yep.
But I just don't know that I want to do a character. There's character comedy and there's storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm more of
but the character, you have to establish who your character is, though.
Why can't it be me, though? Why can't it just be me?
You can, but
I'm crazy as it is anyway. I'm a crazy nutter when I talk.
But you have to establish that character. You have to let an audience know what kind of character you are. When Phyllis Diller went on stage, she was Phyllis Diller, but she had this kind of sarcastic edge.
Yeah.
She just had that little sarcastic edge to it, and she was always talking about her husband. Her husband was bad, the bad habits. Bad habits, yeah. Bang, yeah. So it was that was her hook.
Yeah.
And then you knew who Phyllis Diller was. So when you saw her in a movie, you go, oh, it's Phyllis Diller, right? You didn't say, oh, it's this other character, right? It was Phyllis Diller. But then you'd be disappointed if she didn't give you a little bit of who she really is. Bob Hope would do that. Bob Hope would do that same character. Bing Crosby would do the same character kind of thing, unless he was playing, priest or something else, what it was, right? But they'd sort of play this character that you see on the stage, but you have to establish who the character is. I know if I walk out as me, it's really difficult to put any authority across to say, look at me, unless I'm doing something to get your attention. It has to be like some lines, has to be funny lines. The thing, I can't just do me. Me is, I say to the audience, come and take a walk through my mind, come and take a walk through my memories. And that's how I establish the stuff. And then in between giving these other characters, they see glimpses of me. But me on my own, I think, is bland. I've listened to my recorded voice back and what have you from a long, long time ago, and I go, that's bloody bland, you know. But when I go into characters and when I start doing the voices and all that sort of stuff, that's when it becomes interesting to the audience's ear. You know, you're appealing to their ear as well as their eyes. And they love those different kind of character voices and stuff. And so, you know, when I think of Les Patterson, it's that voice like that. And that's what comes into my ear.
Yeah.
The visual of Les is very funny, very, very fun. But the voice itself. So if you heard it on audio, you can picture who it is and you laugh. It's still funny.
Funny, yeah.
And yeah, so it's looking for phrases, certain kind of phrases.
Yeah.
The way you say the phrases, giving, like I said, if you can mimic someone else's routines and what have you, and then find if you could give it something new. If you saw someone's routine, like a woman's routine and what have you, so I could take that word for word and do it. How can I make that mine? I don't necessarily not going to go back out on stage and do it, but if I can get that feel of that, then I can go with my stories. I can then give that same inflections on those things to my stories, and then understand and go, oh, that's how you make that funny. You make that short, sharp, sweet there, make that long there. You know, we're driving down this long country road, you know, and you just have this picture in your head, long, you know, and then the dog just went woof, and you jump back. So it's like you're giving this, you're painting a verbal picture. Yeah. So that's what I encourage if you want to do that. But you can't do that unless you start talking to yourself. You gotta be on your own, and you're lost in your own head for say an hour, and you go and actually do it.
Yeah.
And you'll find after a while it's like a meditation.
Yeah. And
something will fall in. It'll fall in bits and pieces, all sorts of things. I went for a run one day many years ago. It was like 4 Ks down and 4 Ks back, and I'm looking for I was thinking on this particular problem that I had. It wasn't actually a problem. I was just trying to figure out what to do on this. It was something to do with writing something. And I'll distinctively remember coming at the end of the 8 kilometers. I'd gone down 4, came back 4, and I'm nearly exhausted. And I did a 90-degree turn to run up the beach and off onto the road. And as I turned, it was this thought just went boom, straight in my head. And I went, what the hell? I could have been running. You could have done it 4 kilometers ago, and I could have been thinking about it and fleshing it out for the last 4 Ks to take my mind off the pain of running, right?
Yeah.
But as I just turned, I went, wow. And it was just like, it washed over me.
Yeah.
And I went, solution. So instead of thinking about the thing, I was just running and just putting things in my mind. I was going through numbers and letters and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then to me, the universe just lined up all these letters and numbers and said, here's your idea. I went, wow. So I remember that. It was about 1995. I remember running up to getting in the car, and I'm just standing there, and just blew me away that this particular idea I had, and how it jumped into my head. So it's those are creative buttons that I can give you. I mean, but you have to, you just have to do it for yourself. Get inside your head and just talk inside your head, outside, and you'll find what you need. And trust that it'll come to you. Paul McCartney says he